Good afternoon and many thanks for joining us. This is News Analysis coming to you live on Politics and Business Television Abuja. My name is Bulus Joanna Ray. The top stories. Tinubu to meet service chiefs over rising killings. Red Cross distributes relief materials to Anambra flood victims. Ogun Safety Agency rescues 10 trafficking victims. Gold price hits record high above $3,500. And on the foreign scene, Pope Francis' funeral holds on Saturday, says the Vatican. Details coming up shortly. Stay with us. President Bola Tinubu is planning to meet with the service chiefs to discuss the rising killings in Plateau, Benue, and other parts of the country on his return to Abuja from his two-week working visit to Paris and the French capital. Tinubu returned to Abuja on Monday night after spending 18 days on a working visit and retreat in Paris and London. The Air Force 001 aircraft conveying the president landed at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja at 9:50 p.m. on Monday, the State House Media Office announced. Since April 2nd, when he traveled, more than 120 locals have been killed by armed assailants. Several homes have been burned and 3,000 persons displaced despite the deployment of security forces. In Benue, at least 56 people were killed in Logo and Gaber after twin assaults blamed on armed herders. Multiple sources said the president was concerned by the security situation and would immediately meet with the service chiefs and the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, over the development. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Red Cross Society Anambra State Branch, in partnership with the European Union, has distributed some relief materials to residents of communities ravaged by the 2024 flood disaster in Anambra State. The society said the intervention, which focused on the distribution of dignity kits and essential hygiene items, was conducted in Ogbaru, Anambra West, and Ayamelum local government areas and was generously sponsored by the European Union. In a statement released on Tuesday, the branch secretary of Red Cross, Kingsley Okoye, who led the exercise carried out on April 17th to 19th, said the primary goal of the intervention was to restore a sense of dignity, hygiene, and comfort to the affected victims, individuals, and communities in the aftermath of the flood disaster. In the meantime, the Ogun State Community's Social Orientation and Safety Corps, condemned So Safe Corps, has rescued 10 victims of suspected human trafficking who were found locked inside a 3-bedroom apartment in Mowe, Obafemi Owode local government area of the state. According to a statement released on Monday by Assistant Commander Moruf Yusuf of the Corps Office of the Director of Information and Public Relations, the victims were lured from Ghana with false promises of employment but were instead held captive. The Corps Commander, Soji Gonzalo, said the operation was carried out following credible intelligence. He noted that on April 20, 2025, around 10 a.m., a joint operation involving the So Safe Corps and the Nigeria Police Force Redeemed Division successfully stormed the building and rescued the victims. Non-business news: gold reached $3,500 announced for the first time on Tuesday as U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs and verbal attack against the Federal Reserve sent investors snapping up the safe haven asset. The precious metal reached an all-time high $3,500.10 announced before pulling back to $3,467.87 $0.87. Well, you're still watching news analysis on P&B TV. We'll go on a short break and more news when we return. Welcome back. Now to foreign news. The funeral of Pope Francis will take place on Saturday, April 26, 2025 at 10 a.m. in St. Peter's Square. This was according to a statement issued on Tuesday by the Holy See Press Office. According to the statement, Cardinal Giovanni Battista Redin of College of Cardinals will preside at the Mass, which will be celebrated by patriarchs, cardinals, archbishops, bishops, and priests from across the globe. Recall that the Vatican confirmed that the pontiff passed away on Easter Monday at his residence in the Casa Santa Marta within Vatican City. And for sports news updates, let's join Tom Aroko.
Good day, welcome to P&B Sports News. I'm Aroko Tom. Let's dive into the latest sports update. In the Premier League, Manchester City takes on Aston Villa at 8 p.m. tonight, while Barcelona faces Mallorca at 8:30 p.m. in La Liga. Other key matches include Valencia vs Espanyol at 6 p.m. and Nantes vs PSG at 7:45 p.m. in League One. Burnley secured their promotion to the Premier League after beating Sheffield United 2-1 thanks to Josh Brownhill's first half double. Leeds United also secured promotion to the Premier League after a thrilling 6-0 win against Stoke City at Elland Road on Easter Monday. This victory, combined with Sheffield United 2-1 loss to Burnley, ensured Leeds return to the top flight after a 2-year absence. Over to transfer rumours. Manchester United is reportedly inching closer to an agreement with Wolves forward Cunha, while Liverpool has learned the asking price for Aston Villa forward Watkins. In tennis, the Madrid Open 2025 draw and schedules are out, featuring top players like Novak Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz. Meanwhile, Ima Raducanu has come to learn that less is more in managing her season. That's all for P&B Sports News. I am Aroko Tom.
Welcome back. You're still watching Politics and Business TV Abuja. And now to the focus of the day. High bills, presidency budgets 10 billion naira for solar power. The Nigerian government under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is set to disconnect the presidential villa Aso Rock from the national electricity grid due to high cost of electricity as it approved the 10 billion naira budget to install a solar power system. This follows an increase in the overall budgetary allocation to the State House headquarters, which rose from 47.11 billion naira in the initially proposed 2025 budget to 57.11 billion naira in the approved version. The additional 10 billion naira was traced to a jump in capital expenditure, which moved from 33.55 billion naira to 43.55 billion naira. A breakdown of the new capital items reveals that the increase was solely due to the planned solar project titled Solarization of the Villa with Solar Mini Grid, with a full allocation of 10 billion naira. The move comes amid growing concerns over unreliable public electricity supply and the high cost of electricity for both households and government institutions. The solar project is expected to reduce dependence on the national grid and limit the impact of tariff hikes on government finances. It should be noted that since early 2024, electricity costs have continued to soar, especially for Band A consumers who receive at least 20 hours of electricity daily. Institutions such as the State House, which fall within Band A, have therefore seen their electricity bills increase dramatically in the past year. The State House has also struggled with unpaid electricity bills. In February 2024, the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company listed the presidential villa among the top government debtors with an outstanding bill of 923.87 million naira. However, following a reconciliation process, the debt was revised down to 342.35 million naira, and President Bola Tinubu subsequently ordered the immediate settlement of the amount to avoid disconnection, according to statements issued by the presidency. It was learned that the State House spent a total of 483.34 million naira on electricity bills in 2024, representing a 40.17% increase from the 344.82 million naira it expended in 2023. The presidency recently settled accumulated electricity arrears in a single October 2024 payment, marking a departure from 2023's consistent monthly payments. While 2024 saw lower regular payments, the bulk clearance significantly increased annual expenditure. For 2025, the federal government has allocated 311.09 million naira for State House electricity, suggesting an anticipated return to more stable billing patterns. This comes alongside plans to transition Aso Rock to solar power as a sustainable cost-saving measure. The 2025 budget reveals substantial capital allocations for the State House, including debt settlements for past projects, routine facility maintenance, and infrastructure upgrades. Notable provisions include funds to address long-standing contractor liabilities, renovate official residences, and complete ongoing construction projects. The budget also covers specialized maintenance of presidential facilities, security quarters improvements, and technological upgrades. Joining us to discuss this very sensitive topic is Mr. Joshua Olawale, Chartered Accountant. Join us after a short break. welcome back. You're still watching news analysis live on Politics and Business Television. And on to the focus of the day, high bills, presidency budgets, 10 billion naira for solar power. And join us to discuss this very sensitive topic is Mr. Joshua Wole. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir. So with the presidency migrating to solar, are they telling us that they are helpless as far as affordable electricity is concerned?
Well, the adoption of solar power at the State House or at any government parastatal may not be as like they are helpless about power generation. You know, it's easier to even do gas fired plans to these government agencies without any budge. But I think the world is moving towards alternative sources of electricity and green energy, of which solar is one of them. And I know that the national grid has received a lot of quite a volume of power generation through solar system into the national grid, and there are some rural electrification that are solar based. So I think it's just to add to sources of power supply, not necessarily like losing hope in electricity supply in Nigeria. That I'm not saying that electricity supplies in Nigeria has improved or has shown a sign of willingness to improve or resilience. But what I'm saying is that it's just like adding to portfolio of power sources, which include gas, hydro, solar, wind, and possibly biological sources. So it's really a good one, though it is expected that the national grid should be able to supply the State House completely without any blink. But if any issues is noticed and it's to be tackled head on, I believe that solar system or solar power system is an alternative to getting that done.
And so speaking about the national
reporting and green energy, I think it is really a good one.
Speaking about the national grid, some people argue that the grid will soon collapse completely, and that's why the presidency is moving away. What do you think about that?
Well, that's a speculation. I know that the transmission company of Nigeria is there, and their function is to ensure that the grid is active and is up and running. So for it to have collapsed, that means they are out of function. And for it to have collapsed, many businesses will be out of function, and that will be detrimental to the economy. So running away from collapse from a would-be collapse of grid may not be true, may not be really true for the purpose of adopting solar power source. Because what's the benefit of the State House having a good electricity and the economy is not having a good electricity? So most households as of today they are adopting solar system and they are adopting the solar power source of electricity. So State House may equally adopt that. And you agree with me that it's not like the cutting of the national grid completely. It's just like trying to either reduce costs or ensure constant supply of electricity. So reducing costs, I know that the initial cost of getting solar panels and solar batteries and all other accessories are the major costs. Immediately you get that, your cost will be reduced, and we as the citizens are the ones shouting or clamoring for a reduced State House budget. I think in that manner they can reduce the State House budget, and most of the times auditors to the State House budget or regulators to the State House operations may want to adopt that, which is really a good one. And whatsoever energy they are relinquishing or they are not taking up could be taken up by any other village or any other town or any other city within Abuja and elsewhere. So it's like boosting what the energy generation could be. So that the grid will collapse completely. I doubt if it will collapse completely. That means the economy of Nigeria will collapse fairly. Um, uh, Many people will not be able to survive that. Many things, health sector, agricultural sector, and some other basic needs, even the security sector will not be able to survive that. So it is out of point for State House to run away from a grid collapse and then run to solar. It's better for the State House to provide solar for all Nigerians and stay in darkness than them to run away from a grid collapse. Yes, the grid is weak and the grid should be improved, but I doubt if it will totally collapse or it will collapse to a point that will be a disservice to the State House. So I know that there are numbers of agreements going on, whether with China, with you, some other countries, with Germany, to improve the transmission lines, and there are investments to ensure that the transmission lines, the old transmission lines, are energized to wield the powers generated from our Gencos. If you observe, the Gencos are not operating optimally because of this transmission line. So there is a need to improve the transmission line to be able to wield all those power generated. But I'm an advocate of ensuring that the national grids are subdivided into subnational grids rather than having a whole lot of lines. When one collapses, when the national grid collapses, everybody is cut out of power supply. But when we have subnational grids, we'll be able to say that whether the southwestern regional grid has been put out of electricity, not that the whole nation has been put out of electricity. So we can choose to look at that. And I know that the Electricity Act might have provided for that, because the states can now regulate their electricity. In terms of regulation and some level of generation, I believe that they should be able to transmit some powers within the state. So dissolution of or removing the sole power of generation, transmission, and distribution of electricity to the federal government has been subdivided and has been simplified to ensure that states and sub-regional governments can take responsibility of that, and that would improve the energy sector greatly. I believe those saying that the national grid will collapse completely, they are wrong. National grid cannot collapse completely, except we are expecting that the economy of Nigeria will collapse completely.
So you spoke earlier about a lot of households investing in solar already. So how about the common man? Why can't the federal government invest in solar for all Nigerians?
Yeah, solar is difficult to manage and maintain, especially when it comes to the battery, the panels, because you need many panels to harvest the sunlight. So it's better to subdivide it into national, village, estates, and possibly household units. What the government can do, what I think the government can do, is to ensure that we produce the components nationally, we produce it within our country, and at least let it be subsidized to the barest minimum that everybody can afford the batteries, afford the solar panels, afford the charge controllers, afford other components which we may use. When we say that the sunlight harvested should be contributed to the national grid, it will be difficult to monitor that, because most of these things are managed by electronic-based components, not really electrical based components. When electronic based components are involved, many things many maintenance costs will be involved, because you never can tell if there will be power surge that will affect this solar panel. And depending on which type of solar system you're using, if it is battery based, that means some batteries might be bad, and when one battery goes bad, it may affect many others because of the weight carrying capacity. If the batteries cannot carry the weight equally, it may equally affect some. The weak batteries can affect the strong batteries. I'm not envisaging that, because we are contributing to national grid. I'm envisaging that the solar system will be generated during the day, and it will supply optimally during the day. So what happens to the night, the night time? That means we need battery to back up powers for the night time. So solar system is peculiar in its own nature. It is best for a short area, not a large area, so that you'll be able to maintain it. You'll be able to determine what you are going to the weight you are going to put on the power source, on the power supply, and how you are going to manage it. So the solar system depends on many things. So if we can master the engineering side, master the science, and master the economics behind the solar electricity, I think it will be better. But for now, it is better that the government can subsidize the components of the solar system, solar electricity system, so that it will be within the reach of the common man. And if government does that, that means government has contributed to supplying electricity to the common man. And that, I believe that it will not find its way outside the borders of Nigeria. In that manner, citizens will have benefited immensely from government subsidizing household consumption, and rather than leaving it to them to provide everything that they need.
So you've been talking about the economy. Are these high electricity bills justified, and how do they affect the economy of Nigeria?
Yeah, electrical economics is really a great one. A great one in the sense that electricity requires heavy equipment, and heavy equipment requires capital, intensive capital. So if we are going to benefit from this, we may need to invest greatly in electricity generation itself. I think where Nigeria missed the step was during the privatization of the electrical sector. We were looking forward to having investors with large pockets that we invest in electrical system. But what we got is political investors who now depended on government to even subsidize the electrical costs, subsidizing it in terms of provision of capital, and even in terms of operating costs, to the extent that they have to subsidize the cost of sales. So we at that point we need it. So going forward, we may need to push the load back to Nigerians. Are we ready to shoulder the weight as Nigerians? I think no, because the cost of electricity, if allowed to seep into the pulse of Nigerians, it will not augur well. If you listen to news over the I think last week, you heard the deputy governor of Lagos State complaining about the electricity bill served on him. That means band A, as it is, may not be affordable for common man, which is not affordable for a governor who is politically exposed. It may not be available, it may not be affordable for common man in terms of paying the bills. So what common man can do is either invest in alternative power source or control what they use as electrical units, and that is where we are. Can do now. We need to find balance between investment in electrical equipment and what we can pay. For now, there is a huge gap between what Nigerians can afford and can pay, and what is required for electrical sector to get their investment good. for generating constant electricity into the national grid. So we are talking about weak national grid. One of those reasons is that we need up to $1 trillion in order to make sure that the grid lines are either replaced, renewed, or well maintained. So that may be a huge cost on the federal government. So there is no gainsay that we need to look at public-private partnership in a way that will be sustainable. And one of those things that the government has done, government of President Muhammadu Buhari did when he was about leaving the office, was to decentralize electricity generation and removing it from exclusive lists to concurrent list. So that made electricity open for all to generate. So when you generate it, let it be between 1 megawatt. When it's between 1 megawatt, between 0 and 1 megawatt, you can distribute it within your environment with the state regulatory authorities monitoring what you are doing. I think that's one of the best things to happen to the electricity sector. However, there is a huge gap. There is a huge gap of economics between what the generating company, transmitting company, and distributing company needs and what the citizens can afford. So there is no way we can run away from subsidies. There is no way we can run away from subsidies, and there may be no way the distribution companies can run away from bad debts, because debts will go back, except for the prepaid meters. So they may think of metering everybody. So that's another cost on itself. Metering everybody, the discos owns the meters, the monitoring, to monitor the units consumed. So if the discos can monitor the units consumed, it trips off when you finish your unit, when you finish the vouchers you buy to consume electricity. It will just trip off. At that point, it's either you buy or you stay. You see your neighbor using lights while you are in darkness. So that may be good, and while the government subsidize and make sure they subsidize well. And I think that's what the Band A and Band B, Band C, Band D are trying to achieve, by making sure that where people can afford the payment, they pay higher and they get a good quality service for what they pay for. So I think the government is doing quite a little well in that line. But talking about the tariff itself, is it really good? Is it really bearable by the so-called rich? Before you return back from home, you finish 10,000 naira units. Before you return back from work, you finish another 10,000 units. That may not be too good. So there will be a way. There should be a way where the National Economic Council should weigh in making sure that there is a balance between the consumption needs, the consumption cost, and the cost of generating electricity itself. There is a whole lot of planning that should go into this. Not that we leave it to the free hands of market, of demand and supply. Demand and supply can never be favorable. It will always favor the capitalists, and the capitalists will always gain in their portfolio.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, sir. We've come to the end of the focus of the day for today. Thank you so much for joining us.
You are welcome.
Well, that'll be all for now for the news analysis here on Politics and Business Television Abuja. Many thanks for joining us. My name is Bulus Joanna Ray. Do have a wonderful day. Bye.